Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Olainfarm Investor Conference webinar about financial results and company's activities of the fourth quarter and 12 months of year 2016. Today we are hosted by Olainfarm Management Board member Salvis Lapiņš. Before I give the floor to Salvis, a short reminder about the agenda of the webinar. As always, we will start with the company's presentation, after which Salvis will answer all your questions. If you would like to use this unique opportunity to ask a question directly to Mr. Lapiņš, please use the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. All questions will be addressed after the presentation. However, you can send the question in during the presentation. Salvi, I invite you to start the presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really nice to see you. It's nice that although, as I know, the webinar records are available on YouTube, we still have die-hard fans of ours that do want to hear the news live as they appear. As you may notice, we have a front page and entire presentation is different. The reason being that this year we are turning 45 and throughout the year will be not only in webinars but in many other activities. We will be celebrating, emphasizing that fact. So let me start. Let's first have a look at fourth quarter, and here we see how we've been doing in many quarters of this year and previous years. I'm really glad to announce that and those of you who have read our management report will have noticed that our fourth quarter of last year was, by a nice margin, the best quarter in terms of sales. In total, we had consolidated sales of 32.5 million euros, which represents an increase of 27% to last quarter of last year. And that represents an increase of about 24% to the quarter, which is in terms of sales now number 2, which is second quarter of last year. Pharmacies during the quarter made sales of nearly 5 million euros gross, but after consolidation correction that added 2.3 million to our sales. Silvanols made sales of 1.7 million gross, and that added 1.5 million to our net sales, consolidated sales, and Tonus Elast added another 2.7 million euros to our sales. Since there are very little activity between Olainfarm and Tonus Elast, the entire amount is therefore going to the consolidated numbers. If you look at the profit of last quarter, the picture here isn't as nice. We made, according to preliminary data, and these numbers are not audited yet, we made a net profit of 2.3 million euros, which is a reduction by 13% compared to last quarter. And in total, we made, in this quarter alone, we made provisions of 2.45 million euros. Of those, 1 million for Ukrainian receivables, and these are the provisions that we make every quarter last year. Russian receivables, again, Rosta was not as good of a payer as we thought it would be, so we provided another 0.8 million to them, and some other receivables, mainly Uzbekistani receivables, made us make provisions of 650,000 euros. But there were not only negative one-offs, there were also some positives, and that's about Russian ruble. As it was strengthening throughout last quarter of last year, we made forex gains of about 2 million euros. Now, if there were no one-offs, we would have made a profit of 2.8 million euros, which would not be anywhere close our records, but would be pretty much our sort of typical average quarter if you look at the charts, maybe slightly below that. Now, EBITDA, of course, has been deteriorating throughout the year, and the reason being, again, the same, the provisions. We are now at 16.2 million euro EBITDA for 12 months, which is lowest since 2012. You can see that in charts. Now, the margin is even worse. It's 15%. That 50% EBITDA margin, as you can see in this chart, This chart was started in 2010, and the margin has never been that low. But again, in total last year we made the provisions of 7 million, and those do directly influence EBITDA. Therefore, again, if no such things would have happened, we would have been in the area of 23 million euros, which would be pretty much in line with how we have been behaving since the end of 2014. Now, if you look at fourth quarter alone, and basically the success in terms of sales surely comes from Russia. Now, fourth quarter alone, Russia's share in total sales is 46%. That has, I don't remember in recent years, and Russia's share would be that huge in any given quarter. And of course, you know, this huge share of Russia did dilute the shares of all other markets. You know, all the markets are therefore shrinking. Now, some news in top 10. In last quarter, you see Czech Republic has been ranked very close to top 10, and in total over the last quarter had 16 countries in top 10s of different months in our monthly sales publications. Now, if you look at products, we have a clear leader here as well, not as dominant as in terms of countries. Now, Nerubedin used to be around 19 to 20%. Now it's back very clearly number one product at 25% share. Again, hasn't had that big share for some time. Others, Nufen has increased from 15 to 16%. Adaptol has also made a significant increase compared to third quarter from 9 to 15%. All soluble furagines, and we call them Furamax and Forsols, they're slightly up to 14%. Etazine and Remetadine are stable, but para-aminosalicic acid, our anti-tuberculosis product that we mainly ship to WHO, that has shrunk significantly. That share has shrunk from 14% in Q3 to 4% in Q4, and some smaller reductions also for Vincarol from 4% to 3%. And because of this huge dominance of Nerumidine and good increase by Adaptol, we see that others, the share of all other products combined has shrunk from 10%, and normally it was about 10% for many quarters. Now it is down to 6%. Now, if you look at full year last year, we made record sales of 111 million euros, which is 111% of what we planned. So remember, we planned exactly 100 million for last year. Now, sales have increased by 14%, and as you remember a few slides ago, that's mainly due to good Q2 and a very good Q4. First time we crossed the 100 million level. Pharmacies have added 18.8 million to that number, out of which almost 9 million were net. And Silvanols added 5.3, out of which 4.7 were net, and Tonus Elast added about 5.4 million euros to this number. Talking about profits, here we go again. Profits not as nice. We're talking about 10.08 million euros unaudited, but that's after provisions of 7 million and forex gains of about 3 million euros. So if we do the relevant correction, we will be talking about roughly 14.1 million euros. Now, still 10.1 million euros, which we do actually have, is a reduction by 33% compared to last year. When we came up with the profit guidance, very many things about the provisions we already knew at the time. So we came up with quite modest profit target of 10 million euros, and we have managed to slightly surpass that by roughly 100,000. So we have therefore surpassed our profit target by 1%. Now, where did the growth come from in terms of sales? You see, as far as products are concerned, that what is it? 6, 7, 8, almost all the leading products have demonstrated significant growth. except of course for para-aminosilicic acid. Most in monetary terms was added by Wolfgang. You can see that's number two of our products. It added, that product alone added 2.3 million. Adaptol added another 2.2. Neomedin, which is a clear leader, added 1.3 million more to sales. In relative terms, it's Neomidantan, 139%. Of course, the basis is so small that it doesn't really leave any major impact. Meldonium added another 30%, and Adaptol another 37%. And Adaptol's number 3 product is very strong, even before that, indeed. Of course, you can see in the chart that in monetary terms and also in relative terms, anti-tuberculosis product PASA has of course lost the most, and it added 4.5 million, that product alone. Memantine also lost a bit, about 200,000. And in relative terms, of course, PASA lost 41% and Memantine 27%. But even with that huge loss by PASA, we still managed to grow sales of our own products by about 4.5 million euros in 2016. Now, if you look at countries, we have quite a similar picture indeed here. Basically, all of the sales to all of the countries are growing, except for 2, Netherlands, and that's very directly related to PASA. For those of you who don't know, PASA, which stands for para-aminosilicic acid, is the anti-tuberculosis product, and the main client of ours for that product is World Health Organization, and its logistics center is located in the Netherlands. So technically, we ship that product to the Netherlands, and then from their logistics center, it ends up in any part of the world that in most cases we have no idea about. So, but technically, we do these shipments to the Netherlands, and since the sales of that product have shrunk significantly in 2016 compared to 2015, and particularly in the last quarter, you see the most of the sales lost in the Netherlands. Now, about all the other countries, we see that Russia has added 4.2 million to our sales, Latvia has added 3.5 million, and all other markets combined have added 1.7 million. Now, of course, in terms of relative growth, we see smaller markets dominating that picture. Germany has grown by 104%, Uzbekistan has grown by 65%, and Kazakhstan by 36%. Now, the recent events, it's been about a week since we published the report of ours, but before I move on, I'd like to ask Eva to come up with the first poll question, and this has been quite a traditional question since I know where you are, sort of question. The question is, how do you look at our results? Are they just as expected? Are they better than expected, or are they worse than expected? Please take your time, and I really would be glad to see what you think about that. I'll give you a few more seconds. Well, my understanding is it's in most things, especially profits, it's extremely close to what we promised. But don't take this as a hint of how to vote. Of course, you're totally free to decide and express your attitudes on your own. I'll give you a few more seconds before we're done. Yep, thank you. Thank you. So for those of you, it's been a week since we have our annual report published with the respective management report. And those of you who have gone through it have, of course, noticed that there has been probably the major news out of that has really been the dividends that we proposed. And yeah, the board did propose 0.66 per share. And let me tell you that this is really just a board's proposal. It still has to receive sort of an endorsement by the council, and of course it has to be eventually voted on the shareholders meeting. And this, next slide, I'll show you some historic pictures. This, of course, has been the most generous dividend proposal in corporate history. And there are two main reasons for that. One of the things that you guys and many other investors and shareholders have been pointing at is, of course, the significant amount of related party lending. And we do expect that this generous dividend will allow us to at least significantly reduce, but hopefully even fully eliminate the related party lending issue. Also, another reason, which is somewhat more minor, is that we do expect a tax reform in Latvia, corporate income tax and dividend tax reform. And according to some of the versions that are being discussed the most, dividends will be taxed by a bigger rate of 20%, whereas corporate income tax would be abolished. But as long as dividends here are 10% rate, we decided that we should probably speed up a little bit this year due to that taxation uncertainty. Now, the total amount, of course, of the proposed dividend is huge, and we do not want to harm company in any way. So therefore, we have impact in order to limit the impact on company's liquidity. The board has therefore provided that dividend payments are divided into three equal parts, three equal installments, and will be paid out at the end of second, third, and fourth quarters, respectively. So at the end of each quarter, we will be paying out something like 22 € per share. In this respect, I do have a next poll question, and I would like to ask Eva to show it now. And that's about your attitudes to dividends. What do you think our board's proposal is? Is it generous or not generous enough, or should it be higher or smaller? So please take your time and vote. Yeah, I'll give you a few more seconds. Some people may think that there's never too much dividend. Other people may think that the more dividend you pay, other people might think that's better to save for growth. So really interested in your opinion. So thank you for those who voted. And now the question, of course, may arise: what was it? Was it one-off? Can we expect? And let me remind you that dividends are paid from parent companies' net profits, and why we didn't come up with payout ratio is for a simple reason that we do not know exactly what the audited parent company's profit would be, but apparently it's going to be somewhere close to 100%. So yeah, the question might be like, what is 100% now a new payout rate, or what should we make of it? Now discussion is ongoing. For those of you who remember, we started dividend payouts from the profits of 2010. We started with payout ratio of 10%. And then we intended to increase it by 2.5 percentage points until it reached 25%. We did follow this scheme quite nicely. We did have a break for investment programs because of investment programs and sort of difficulties in Russia-Ukraine situation. And then we restarted in 2016, and you can see at the bottom of the chart, you can see how our dividend has been developing and what the dividend yield has been compared to the share price of March 1st of every year. But because of number of pressures and because of course, improving liquidity situation of a company providing totally different profits than it used to be producing in 2010 and 2011, we did come up with the first dividend payments and the proposal for dividend policies. Naturally, the discussion arises of maybe we should revise that, and the discussion is still ongoing between the board and the council about what's the feasible, viable, sustainable dividend payout ratio should be. Currently, the discussions are far from being over, but we are talking about a level of about 40% of net profits. Now, therefore, let me ask you for your opinion. What do you think the payout ratio should be? And therefore, I'd like to ask Eva to come up with the next question. Do you think it should be below 20% as it was all these years? Do you think it should be, a bit more generous, somewhere between 20 and 40? Maybe you think it should be between 40 and 60, or above 60 as it is this year. So please take your time and cast your vote. Indeed, it is, whatever opinions of yours we manage to gather, we both take them into account. As I said, discussion is ongoing, and in some situations it might be a decisive thing in discussions. So please take your seconds and click the right choice, and then we'll move on. I see voting has ended. Thank you. Now let's move to what we have in focus for this webinar. And as you know, almost constantly are in contact with investors and shareholders and anyone interested. And of course, everybody keeps asking, like, what's your plan for 2007? And I couldn't help but prepare a few slides on what our thinking was, how far we are with budgeting 2017. Well, budgeting, it's March. How far we are with, almost could say, with actual numbers for 2017. Now, let me go through virtually all the daughter companies that we have, and we'll be having a look at each of them separately. And then we'll be seeing the consolidated numbers. So let us start. Kivvi Cosmetics, by far the smallest daughter company of ours, demonstrated nice growth in 2016 from about 100,000 to 164,000, but it was really more a year of consolidating things, consolidating production, consolidating products and things. In 2017, we do plan more of a year that will be focusing on actual sales boost. Therefore, we see the extremely ambitious sales plans and extremely ambitious sales costs. This is all in thousands of euros. Other items, this is all the homework that was done, many new recipes prepared and registered. But with all the huge sales growth that we have planned and with all the big sales costs that we have, we still are not in the territory of profits, as you can see. But then again, we are really talking about 20,000 loss, and which is not really that significant on the group's level. But we are talking about very good dynamics. I mean, the company is going in a right direction. Now, another small daughter company of ours called Klinika Diamed, which we acquired late last year. Company is already undergoing major turnaround, and we do expect new services will be appearing in the company, and assets will be managed more efficiently. You see that we do plan for about 400,000 sales increase this year. We still, company hasn't really had any sales costs, so that partially justifies that ambitious increase. Company had huge administrative costs, but they were more related to relocating the company and relocating its very sophisticated equipment. Here, because of a number of reasons, because of increasing sales costs, we do not really see that nice dynamics in terms of net profit. The company is still loss-making, and the improvement is not that obvious. But at least the dynamics are good, and we do expect that 2018 we would at least have a break-even and be producing profits in next years to come. Next daughter of ours is NPK Biotest, the Belarusian company that we acquired for reasons of placing some of the production in Belarus to make our life in that country and in other customs union countries a bit easier. Since we own the company only for 2 months, I provided you 2 months numbers here. So they're difficult to compare, but what's obvious is that the sales number is disproportionately high as we planned for this year, and the profitability is disproportionately high. And the main reason for that is that since we've taken the company over, the previous pricing schemes created by previous owners, and let me remind you that previous owners were Belarus wholesalers, and their transfer pricing schemes were not always beneficial for this particular company. Those will be abolished, and that fact alone will help us improve the financial conditions substantially. Now, dynamics here, of course, are nice, but since it was about almost 4 million euros we paid for a company, this thing alone, of course, does not justify the investment. So therefore, we do expect even nicer picture from this company as we do start packaging and probably other services for Olainfarm. Silvanols, now that's the sort of older daughter of ours. You see they have recorded different things differently, and some have got other sales and some other services are going under other items. Now you see that we do plan quite a nice sales increase here. The reason being that Silvanols is keen, and they've already started a very significant, ambitious expansion into a few new markets, and you will see what those markets are when they will appear on our top 10 market list. Probably see companies that haven't been there, have not been there before. So Silvanols is very ambitious on promoting their products under their own brand name, and 2017 they dedicated to put a lot of effort on that. So we do see therefore nice sales increase, but we do of course see here a certain net profit reduction. If the company is successful in those markets where they're planning to launch their products, then that short-term shrinking profit is justifiable. So so far things are going pretty much according to plan. As far as 2016 is concerned, the final decision hasn't been made yet, but we do expect that some dividends will be paid by Silvanols to its owners. Tonus, Elast, and Elast Medical. Now, name Elast Medical you probably haven't heard much before, but that's Olainfarm's 100% owned Russian company. There are 2 main tags for the company. It's exclusive distribution of Tonus Elast products in Russia, and also marketing services for Silvanols. So therefore, we're looking at these 2 things combined. So you see 7 months of 2016 and entire 2017. Yeah, one thing, yeah, we see, of course, total sales are increasing significantly, because not only do we expect Tonus's sales in other markets, but also Elast Medical will be providing marketing services for Silvanols, and therefore creating more of a top line. What also hits the eye, of course, is administrative costs, but the companies are now totally different in terms of volume, and therefore the net profit, yeah, of course, the sales cost, because Tonus Elast hasn't really been marketing their product much. And of course, therefore, the margins in terms of percentages, of course, are smaller, but also because Silvanols marketing activity is virtually margin-free, so on top of all the increasing costs, it also has some margin dilution effect. Latvijas Apteeka, the oldest daughter of ours, and yeah, this is our plan for next year. Other items here this year, you see 287,000. Out of that, many are marketing income, and we have been quite conservative and have pretty much ignored that in 2017. most of the increase of 1.5 million euros basically we expect to come from new pharmacies. So therefore we're also quite conservative in that sense. Margin is of pharmacy business alone is close to 4%, still improving a little. But of course, if you look at the combined margins of Olainfarm from wholesaling operations and pharmacies from retail operations, then we are gradually approaching long desired 10% ratio. Now, Olainfarm, the parent company alone. Now, here are the sort of official forecasts of ours. Standalone sales target that we budgeted for this year is 96 million euros, and the net profit target is 12.7 million euros. Since we do not plan as huge provisions next year, and we have also made the assumption that there will be no significant forex loss. You see that the margins are, of course, much nicer than in 2016. But whatever smaller provisions we have incorporated, they are under administrative costs, so they're not actually as big increase as you can see here. Now, with regard to Olainfarm and with regard to all the other Latvian companies, let me again tell you that we do expect that Latvian corporate and dividend taxation will change before the end of the year. So all these assumptions here are made with the current tax rates. So if those do change, then all the actual and budgeted numbers might change respectively. And finally, we of course have a look at the group. Now for 2017, we have sales target of 127 million euros, very ambitious one. But you know where it comes from. Several companies do have ambitious sales increase plans. Still see how we go. So, like I said, we do have in mind about 3 million possible provisions, and we've placed them under administratives for the reasons of budgeting. Sales costs, as you see, are slightly decreasing probably, but we are well represented in many countries. So we don't see that urge, that need to boost any overall sales costs. Of course, it might change from country to country. In some they may shrink, and some they may keep increasing. But on average, we plan that they'll be very closely to the same numbers of 2016. And on the consolidation number, you see that EBT and tax and net profit do not add together, because on that level we do have consolidation level tax rebates. So therefore, our net profit target for 2017 is 15.5 million euros. Now, since I've covered all of our companies, let me ask Eva to put up the next poll question. And unfortunately, the system only allows us to have a limited number of multiple choice answers. So a weird question might sound, but the question is, which is, in your understanding, and whatever the reason is, maybe you like the products the best, or maybe you like this as an investment, or maybe it just sounds nice. What do you think what's your favorite daughter of ours? Is it Silvanols, Latvijas Aptieka, Tonus, or Kivvi? Please take your seconds to vote. And as you do that, let me tell you that the sort of official part of the presentation is over. And here we go with the Q&A session. As you are typing your questions, or as Eva is reading them to me, I'd like to ask Eva to put the last question. As I said before, we are celebrating 45 years this year, and we therefore have changed the template. And been lots of discussions about designs. You know, design is one of those things that always causes discussions. I mean, never have 100% agreement. But therefore, it's interesting to see what you think. Did you like it, or did you like the previous, or you didn't notice, or you don't really care? Whatever your opinion is, please take time and click your choice. So that's about it from me in the sort of official part. So Eva, I am ready to take questions now.
Yes, Salvi. Thank you for the presentation. Currently, I will leave this poll question open for others to think, and now I will proceed with the questions in order they were received. A reminder to those who haven't yet submitted their questions, you can do it in the questions section in the settings panel zone. First question: what is going to be the strategic focus of Olainfarm Group for this year? On what areas the focus will be put more? Salvi?
Yes, as you noticed, last year we did lots of acquisitions, and indeed it is a challenging job to take maximum advantage of all things we have acquired, and life's life, and things sometimes move nicely and fast and smoothly. Sometimes they don't. So the focus of this year really would be to consolidate, to utilize the most of synergies, of advantages that there are arising from these companies. No major acquisition is planned for 2017. As you know, we always keep acquiring pharmacies here and there, and that work will continue. And let me inform you that very recently, indeed a few years ago, we have acquired another pharmacy in the city of Ventspils, which we are very proud of. So activities like those will continue, but that's about it in terms of acquisitions. The major effort really is to make maximum out of what we already have. Eva?
Thank you. How about the export to Turkey? Previously, it was prognosed that the first cargo could reach Turkey in April 2017. Will it actually happen? And at the same time, how many products are registered in Turkey?
Yeah, currently we are talking about three products that are closest to registration. In total, we have, and I might be mistaken, either 6 or 7 products submitted. And indeed, the more original, more earlier stage plan was that about this time we would be having at least the first sample shipments to Turkey. But for certain events that took place in Turkey in July last year, and you may have heard that the governmental public administration system has undergone certain restructuring since, many of things where governmental institutions are involved got somewhat delayed, including our registration processes. So as it stands currently, we do expect that our products will be registered in Turkey this year, and that we might start some first shipments late this year. Yeah, we do expect that somewhere in the third quarter, roughly, we might have our first approvals. But yeah, that's if nothing changes. Eva?
Thank you. Are there any news regarding the export to Iran? How about expansion in new markets?
Well, there are new news about Iran or any other countries. Any news that would be worth particularly mentioning. There are some ideas here and there, but again, as I said, the focus of this year is not really new acquisitions and not even new markets. It's really having those products that we have and those markets where we are in, and trying to make most out of what we already have. So for this year, I wouldn't expect any major, except for Turkey, I wouldn't expect any major news, neither for acquisitions nor for new markets. Eva?
In respect to the planned dividend payment in 3 parts, does it mean that there will be 3 record dates for fixing the shareholders list to be eligible for receiving the dividend?
Well, to be honest, we haven't decided that, and we should be we should be we'll be consulting depository about that. I don't really have a clear answer. I mean, if we have a one fixing date, and most likely that fixing date would be somewhere mid to late June, might be somewhat weird that based on that fixing date we would still pay dividends in December. But that's really my sort of personal approach. We will certainly be consulting others and seeing what other experiences are. So my quick answer is that no, most likely there would be three. Well, yes, most likely there will be three record dates, but don't take this for the final answer yet. Emma?
Thank you. How likely do you consider the possibility of some reversal of the provision made in 2016?
Well, that's really speculative. Let's say if we had an immediate reason to see the potential for reversal, we would never make these provisions to begin with. Now, so I clearly don't see the possibility of reversal in 2017. If things go according, well, if we are optimists, then most of the provisions might be eventually reversed. So no, certainly no reversals in 2017. 2018, we might, depending on how Ukraine performs, depending on how Russians and Uzbekistanis perform, some of the provisions might be reversed, but I mean, this is absolutely not a promise. Yeah?
Thank you. Currently, the last question. Any major investments planned for 2017 in terms of production, for instance, warehouse production lines of Olainfarm or other daughter companies?
Nothing really major. We have bits and pieces here and there. The biggest project that we have around here, and that's an ongoing project for 2 years, slightly more than 2 years, is for one new anti-tuberculosis product, but it's not that concentrated in 2017. So it's there's nothing major. Warehouse, you may have heard that we announced the bidding. We wanted to buy the services for reconstructing the warehouse. Surprisingly enough, no qualified construction company applied, although several companies did demonstrate interest. So now that warehouse project is put on hold for time being, and the chances are that we won't really implement that in 2017 at all. Eva?
Thank you. All questions are answered right now. As always, recording of the webinar will be available in the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel and in company's announcements. Salvi, thanks for spending the last hour with us, and participants, thank you for joining.
My pleasure, and thanks for joining indeed. And I see the number was increasing throughout the webinar, so really a great pleasure to see that you keep your interest in our company. I hope it's worth it. Thank you, and see you next time.